Hi, welcome to the gun room. I've got the party hat on again. All will be revealed, as I normally say. The last pod was certainly eventful and entertaining. Jay came up with the word truncated, which was quite a good word, wasn't it? Nice and chewy. Nick came up with the phrase, it's not our first time at the rodeo. And myself and Lauren couldn't tell Brentford from Bournemouth. And he said, Bradford then? It's starting again. It's the bees.
We don't need another one in the mix, okay? I think 2 is enough.
Hold on, he's coming. He's coming. Hi, Nick. We'll introduce you properly in a minute. Give us a sec. Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Cool. Right then, so there's no pressure tonight. All the fluffs and the foofs and all that sort of thing. With us is Jay. How are you, Jay?
Hello, very good, very good.
Another podcateer, Lauren. How are you?
I'm fantastic, thank you.
And Nick, by the skin of his teeth, in the nick of time. How are you,
guys? Nick? I'm great.
The hat is for Pierre Mertesacker. It's his birthday. Granit Xhaka, it's his birthday. Kenny Sanson was 64. And Emmanuel Petit, it was his birthday as well. So we get that out of the way. There's no Paul in the gun room, but he should be back. I said to him on the podcast today, when are you back? And he said, I can't come back because I've got some gig to go to, someone out of some group or another. So he won't be back for another week. Nick, we could keep you busy. No men's football, but there was a North London derby to relieve the monotony of the international break as Arsenal took on Spurs in a WSL. Injuries have been a big feature of this week. There's been a lot of chat about it. Thomas Partey and Kieran Tierney. Now, the general consensus, not that I go with that, but the general consensus is flog them off. Nick, you've just come in late and we're going to test you now, mate. What's your opinion?
It's really easy to get frustrated at these guys because of their injuries and kind of forget what kind of player they are. But you get to a point where where we're at in the rebuild, it's like, how much can you depend on these guys to be around? I mean, we saw injuries absolutely derail our season when we were flying going into that last international break and missing a couple of those guys right after it, and we just couldn't cope. So
is that you again, Jay?
Sorry.
He's doing it week on, week out now, isn't he?
Carry on, Nick. Disturb on as well. Sorry.
Carry on, Nick.
He probably got an email from the physio with the latest updates. But yeah, I mean, the Thomas Partey one is the most concerning to me just because when we have him, we're an elite team, but when we don't, we are scrambling. I mean, I love Sambi and I see that he has a skill set within him, but he's just not there. And I don't know if there's many guys that can do what Thomas Partey can. And that changes Granit Xhaka's role, and he's been tremendous in the free role he's had. So having him be more responsible defensively changes kind of everything. So that's the one I'm most concerned about. And part of me thinks maybe Mikel's playing some 4D chess and getting some of these guys back early, and we won't know until the lineup comes out. I don't know. I wouldn't put that past him.
Yeah, he could be doing a bit of ducking and diving. Lauren, what's your take? Sell, keep, just ignore? I mean, Thomas Partey makes us a better side for sure. And Kieran Tierney was coming back to fitness. I don't really know the ins and outs of that situation. But I think it's a bit of a knee-jerk reaction at this stage of the season. We should knuckle down. Your opinion?
Yeah, just to go back to that point that Nick made, I didn't watch the Ireland game when he was taken off. It was Scotland-Ireland. He came off that game. But I heard he was just taken off because of concussion. So I don't think it was a typical Tierney injury. I think it was more precaution. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was just more of a preactive reaction, if that makes, or a preactive action rather than a reactive one, calling them back due to injury. In terms of selling them, I think it's way too early to be talking about that. We don't know how it's going to pan out. Better to have them there. Obviously, Partey is on whopper wages, so maybe that is something that is a bit of a pushing point there. But I wouldn't be jumping to the conclusion that they have to go straight away, you know.
Funny thing was, he was relatively injury-free, wasn't he, until he joined the Arsenal? And then we sorted him out. We made him have crutches and all sorts. Jay, have we got to look for additional cover in January with these two?
Yeah, most probably, yeah. You certainly wouldn't sell them until you get any, some sort of, either a better option or another option, because, I mean, I can't really add too much to what the other guys have said. They're both key members of the squad, but they can't be relied upon at the minute. And you live in hope that they were all precautionary. Well, both of them were precautionary measures just to take them off. But they can't be relied upon, sadly, and especially Thomas Partey, who's such a key member of the team in such a key area of the pitch. I think it makes perfect sense if, and I'm sure they are, Arteta and Edu and the rest of them are looking at replacements or different options, because they can't be relied upon, can they? Sadly. So yeah.
I think one of the most common phrases is made of glass, and then Nick came up with Thomas part-time, which I quite liked.
Yeah, I like that.
That was a good one. Going back a few years to Alicia Usmanov, is being investigated for money laundering now. I just want to see where we were back then before we found out about the funny money and the dirty stuff. I was actually thinking he was our white knight. He was going to ride into North London Central and sort all this mess out with the Cronkies and buy them out. Obviously, that's turned sour, but I'm glad it didn't jump ship, or Arsenal didn't jump ship. Jay, what was your thoughts back then?
No, I'm very similar to you. I kind of thought, if you can't beat him, join him. If Abramovich was coming in, and Chelsea before Abramovich were not the force that they have been for the last 20 years, to say the least. Abramovich came in, changed the whole landscape of the Premier League with the spending, and brought in Mourinho, and then a bit later on you've got Sheikh Mansour's money, and we were at the time, especially with Abramovich taking over, Arsene and the club were moving into position to maybe supersede United, and we were in a winning trophies, getting to cup finals, and we were being consistently we were viewed as an actual, genuine elite club, at the top of the league. And then obviously that changed with the Russian money. So at the time when Usmanov was flirting with the idea of buying the club, I mean, I don't think he was ever close to, buying Kroenke out. I think, but I agree with you. I wanted, like every football club, you don't want to be left behind. Any football fan, you don't want to be left behind. And I think for a long time we were. There's absolutely no doubt we couldn't live with the spending of Chelsea and obviously City later on. So I was the same as you. But in hindsight, it's not a surprise, is it? Because I think even all the way along, there were rumours that he was a bit dodgy, to say the least. And his business dealings, he didn't have the best reputation in the world. So it's not a surprise that he's being investigated.
It's time, Nick, isn't it, that the FA did their homework, because they must have known that there was something a bit smelly about that sort of Roman Abramovich, and they still let him come in, and then they let Usmanov in as well. It's time they tightened up, isn't it?
Yeah, you think so, but then you have the whole Newcastle takeover, and there's a lot of unknowns and question marks about that, and you see and hear about sports washing, and that's kind of a newer term. And but I think the league just sees the dollar signs and just another owner and just more and more money coming in, and it's almost turned a blind eye. And then when it gets real bad, then we'll do something. I was talking to my friends about the Abramovich thing, trying to explain it, and they're like, "Well, how is the government doing something about a business and just stepping in that way?" And just tried to explain it, and they're like, I still don't understand how or why.
You mister. Nick, it's always when you talk, he's got some sort of grudge going on.
Yeah, got that on a timer, so I see how it is.
I think the thing is the Premier League is massive, and it needs these massive investors to come in, and it's kind of turned a blind eye, hasn't it? It's kind of swept it under the carpet. Lauren, anything to add on that? it's still a bit of a smelly mess, and there's lots more clubs in the future, probably in the next 12 months, that are gonna see dollar signs and be taken over, I guess.
Absolutely. And the only thing I had on that was, it's 5 words, but we could do a whole podcast on this. Is there such a thing as an ethical billionaire? And that's the kind of investment that we're talking about to come in to take over one of these clubs. Of course, I mean, you know, there's different levels of evil and this, that, the other, but, you know, I think if we start investigating one thing, it's going to open a can of worms, and they really need to have a structure in place to be able to implement it. They can't just start picking out, you know, obviously what happened to Chelsea was a different situation, and that was almost out of their control. They had to do something about that. But I think in terms of, you know, investigating where the money's coming from, it would have to be a completely league-wide, even further, you know, to make sure that, you know, it isn't just all sports washing, or that it is being done above board. So yeah, it's definitely a difficult one that I don't have the answer to.
Oh, none of us do. Bukayo Saka has been named England's Men's Player of the Year 21-22. He came on in the England game and livened up the whole affair. 3 assists as well. Other than that, I mean, I know I'm straying off the Arsenal subject, but it was a pretty dull match, Jay.
Yeah, I mean, there was also the game before where Southgate played Saka at left wing back. You know, like, come
He's
on.
going to put him in goal next time. Trust me, I've got a beard.
Yeah, I mean, England are such a funny entity, aren't they? They're always one or two games away from a crisis, or 1 or 2 games away from being the best thing ever. You know, I mean, I just, you live in fear. Even just watching the game last night, so Saka pulling up, you know, a couple of days before the North London Derby. You know, I don't want him involved. Didn't want him involved. I was glad that Ben White was left out. And I mean, you look at I don't want to talk about England too much, but you look at Harry Maguire, and he's really struggling at the moment, and how Ben White can't get picked ahead of some, you know, Maguire. I mean, I'm not going to jump on the bandwagon and really slate Maguire too much. He's just really struggling. He needs to break from the England team. Ten Hag's done the right thing and dropped him out the United side. And I'm sure Maguire will come back, and he's just really struggling, and he's constantly making mistakes, isn't he? And he's so from that point of view, I was glad that Ben White wasn't in there. But yeah, Saka more than deserves that player of, you know, England's Player of the Year. He's, you know, he should be starting for England every game, and you know, it shows. Even he hasn't started the season as badly as most have made out this year. But he's you know, he fully deserved that, and I'm sure come Saturday lunchtime he'll be raring to go against that lot.
On a trivial side, I've got to say that if there was a competition for the shirts, Germany won it hands down. What a classy shirt. I'm not so sure about the England one, but Nick, what's happening to the US shirt, USA? That looks like it's just like an explosion in a paint factory. Shame on you, sir.
It's awful. It's awful, and the performances in it have matched it. So it'll be an interesting group for all of us.
Right, guys, I'm going to bust it up a little bit before we get onto the WSL. Has anyone seen Inside Hale End? What did you make of it? Who wants to go first? Don't all fight for it. Lauren, I'm picking you, Lauren.
Yeah, no worries. So I haven't finished it yet, actually, unfortunately. I'm about 2 episodes in, and I started watching it with my other half, who wasn't here this weekend. And obviously, there's a bit of a strict rule, can't watch ahead in anything, whatever it may be. But we were really enjoying it. We actually got the inspiration to watch it from Channel 4's The Academy, which was based on Crystal Palace, I believe, last season or the season before. So it was really nice to see that after having seen the ins and outs of another Premier League team. So I'm looking forward to finishing it. So not too many spoilers, please.
I tell you what I did do is I fell in love with the club all over again, because the way they were treating the youngsters, the way they were trying to give a duty of care. Because in my mind, I think I saw a documentary some time ago, and it was just a bit of a slaughterhouse, really. If you didn't make the grade, you were dumped off, and there was no aftercare. There was no consideration for the broken dreams and all that sort of thing. So the way the Arsenal guys in the small bits, it's like an episode and a half. Really enjoyed seeing Arsenal being classy, doing the right thing, and I was so impressed as well. Nick, did you see any of it?
Yeah, I'm only an episode in, so I've got a lot of work to do. But just I love that the club is getting more people that know the club back into the club. I mean, you see that with Mikel Arteta, you see that with Edu. But giving Mertesacker the reins with this, I thought was a masterstroke, and I don't think we'll see the benefits of it for 5 to 10 years. But I just love him as a leader. He speaks so well, and that's why I really like Mikel at the helm, because he's so well spoken. I think he really has an aura about him that captivates a room, and I see that same aura in Per Mertesacker, and it's pretty cool how they were both brought in at the same time, and so they obviously have similar characteristics about their personality, but also know each other. So I think it'll create a great pipeline. But I'm excited to see more because I mean, I played all through those ages, not in academy, but just interesting seeing how I work with teenage students at a school. So kind of seeing how people that age are treated, what they need, and maybe in this generation. Saw a glimpse of that and excited to see more.
Well, it was funny that Nwaneri got his couple of minutes, and then when I watched Hale End, there he was again. So I did it the wrong way round. I should have gone the other way round. Jay, it's clear that Arsenal are putting in a strong foundation at every single level, which bodes well for the future.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've watched. I think I'm on about episode 5 or 6, and I won't spoil it for anybody. But one of the main things I was most impressed with was the detail of analysis for each age group's training sessions were just like I just didn't expect it. To be honest, I didn't really know what to expect, because it's very rare that you get chance unless you're involved. If you've got a family member or a friend or whatever who's involved with any football club, Premier League club at that level. I think it's difficult because, like, my nephew was part of the Nottingham Forest under-15s, and I used to go training with him. And they've got a good setup, Forest have, but it is not on that level, And it's the level of care that those players. I mean, at Forest, don't get me wrong, that it's a great setup, but just from what you see on inside Hale End, that the coaches are very well drilled right from the top, from Mertesacker. The message gets conveyed really well through the coaches and the players. They seem like pretty nice young gentlemen, and obviously you don't see them full. You don't see the full side of them. You only get a small snippet of what they're like. But I really enjoyed the program. Really enjoyed the show. Like you want to be back at that age and being involved in it, because we all love football and we all played, at certain levels. But to be involved with a club like Arsenal, it must be super disappointing. But it was good to see. And again, I don't want to spoil it, but the aftercare when it doesn't work out for some players was really encouraging, because you don't want them to be just left with the disappointment of being at a club like Arsenal for X amount of years, and then to have it all taken away from you at a point where you're leaving school and you're leaving your friends and stuff. It was really encouraging to see that they were looked after, and the coaches seemed to care, because there wasn't that cutthroat goodbye, we won't see you, good luck, but they seem to care. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's a really great program, and a really good program to watch after All or Nothing, because it gives you a little bit more.
Look at us all nodding there. Yeah, we're all nodding.
I was just thinking that as well, I promise.
Yeah. It's not, All or Nothing's the glitz and the glamour, but this features the parents and their sacrifices to a certain extent. And I loved it. Really, really great show.
I think it's a very clever ploy, as Nick touched upon. It's like bringing you right inside the heart of the club, and we've seen it at the senior level. and now we're seeing it through the other levels. So it's a brilliant thing to do. Right, Lauren, bring us up to speed before we go to North London Derby. Bring us up to speed on the crazy happenings in Spain. They're just
yeah, there seems to be
off the
something
scale,
every
aren't
week, doesn't there, from coming from Spain? But yeah, so this week
too much sun.
Yeah, that must be it. This week it was announced that 15 of the women's national team players had made it public to I can't think of the name, the Royal Federal Football, yada yada, Spain's FA, that they wanted a change of manager. Basically saying if their current manager, George Vilda, don't know him.
I'll take
if
word
he doesn't
for it.
step down, yeah, always trust me, I know what I'm doing. I try anyway. If he doesn't step down, that they are going to step back from their national duties. Now, this is just after a summer of a pretty disappointing Euros for Spain. Granted, I think they were probably England's best competition apart from Germany in the final. They're amazing players. We're really talking about world-class players here, Champions League level. They should be getting to the finals of these, World Cups, Euros as well. And we have the World Cup coming up next summer. So that's the real pressure. That's why they're saying that they want him to step down. Now, the reason they're saying this is because he creates a very toxic culture within the team. It's affecting their performance and their mental health. In response to this, the Spanish FA came out and said, basically, that's fine, step down if you want to, we're not going to be blackmailed. And I mean, we're talking about players who play with United, Barcelona, City. It's not second string players. This is like, it could be their whole starting 11 who said, we are not comfortable playing in these conditions, something has to give. So it's a bit crazy. I mean, I can't think of, you think of maybe Premier League.
Are they trying to work this out, Lauren? Are they trying to solve this as we speak?
They basically, as far as I'm up to date with, they just said, this is it. If you don't want to play, you don't want to play, and that's it. It's up to you. So, wow. Yeah, it's crazy. And I think, you think of teams like, I was going to say Ronaldo, teams like United, where players might have an issue with the manager.
I thought you were going to say Bournemouth.
No, not today. Keeping that far out of my mind. Teams like, United, where they have issues with the manager and players might get a bit stroppy, but no one's throwing their contracts up in the air saying, I'm not playing until this person's gone. So you just have to think of the level of, discomfort and dissatisfaction that exists within that team for 15 of them to step up and say, you know what, we can't hack this anymore. So it's pretty crazy. And I think it is a really good reflection on the FA, who are putting so much effort and so much time and so much, love and care into the women's side in England. So, we're looking at two very, very stark contrasts as women's football is exploding really at exponential rates. We have one body who's ready to throw the kitchen sink at it to make sure that it gets the love it deserves. And then you look at Spain, which unfortunately it isn't the case. So, yeah.
Well, North London Derby then, 53,737 tickets sold at the Emirates. Arsenal have now won their last 10 matches, scoring 95 goals and conceding just twice. Their clean sheet was the 8th in a row. What did you make of that performance, Lauren? It was a great and solid performance against that lot.
Yeah, I mean, there's really not that much to say. It was just exceptional, really. We were in control of the whole game. I don't think they even managed a shot on target, and if they did, probably against the run of play. But it felt more of a comfortable game than the Brighton game did, which I think is correct. Yeah, we did play Brighton in the opening fixture.
Hey!
I'm getting good now. Third time lucky. But it was just that kind of atmosphere. At no point did Arsenal look threatened. I think 4-0, it might sound a bit ridiculous, but it was a little bit flattering to Spurs, because we could have had 6, 7, 8. We are lacking a slight, it sounds ridiculous, but we're lacking just that really clinical touch to capitalize on all the chances we're creating.
Yeah, because that's the second domestic game where we've kind of missed out on about 6 goals overall, isn't it? We just seemed to be able to walk into the Spurs penalty box whenever we fancied. It was a bit like a no-show, wasn't it, for their defence?
Yeah, I think the issue was really in the midfield. They were just getting absolutely outrun. They could not compete with Little, with Balti who were playing there. They just couldn't get past the halfway line, really. Defensively, I thought they were pretty solid in the first half, apart from obviously the big blunder. But I thought they did okay, you know, considering we had a lot of corners from blocked shots and stuff. So yeah, I mean, you know, they did all right.
Beth Mead got first goal after 5 minutes. Wonderful strike. Viv Miedemar after 44 minutes. That was a one-on-one with the keeper. 54 minutes. Sousa extended Arsenal's lead, and then Miedemar got number 4 from a short corner. Who was your player of the match?
Ooh, again, I thought Ford, we mentioned her last week. She had a great game as well. She was creating a lot of chances. But I think, you know, it really was Beth Mead's day. Even when she got subbed off, she did a kind of half lap of honor, and the standing ovation she got. There just seems to be an aura about her at the moment. We're 2 games into the WSL. She's 3 goals scored, lost count of the assists. But, you know, it just really does seem like it's going to be her season this season. So fingers crossed it keeps going that way.
I wonder if Miedemar was listening to this podcast, because we said she had a quiet game, and she upped her game, obviously. Now, I asked the guys, because of North London Derby coming up at the weekend, I asked them to think of their favourite games and moments. We'll kind of go round on sweep, see what you come up with. Nick?
Yeah, my first memory as a supporter was the Bentner goal, him coming on with that towering header in his first touch, and the Emirates erupted, and I was really hooked after that. And at that point, I didn't really realize what that game meant. But looking back, I mean, it's still probably a top 5 favorite goal for me all time, just because the nostalgia for me, kind of the beginning of my fanhood. So that one, that was 2007. Had some great goals in that as well. Both of the 5-2 games were both tremendous. Specifically, the one that we came from behind. Sonia with the bullet header, some great goals. I mean, if you score in this game, you become a cult hero, and you just remember those goals and you replay them all the time. So the Van Persie goals, the Rosicki goals, Mertesacker. But probably my favorite was the 2018 4-2 game. We came from behind. Dyer and Kane scored for them. Dyer was winding up. Aaron Ramsey on the bench, and Ramsey came on at halftime. And
I do love a bit of that, all that argy-bargy on
Yeah.
the sideline. So, you know, see the passion. That's what we want to see as football fans.
Gotta have it. And I hope we see some this weekend. I think you have to have that in a game like this. And to have that and then to go on to win in the fashion that we did was you can't ask for much more than that.
I just have to say, Granite, take it easy, mate. Don't go in full clog, okay? I'm going to kick off with Thierry Henry, 16th of November 2002, the legendary goal. It was credited as an assist by Patrick Vieira, who was up in his own penalty area or just outside, punted it through to Henry, and Henry just skipped and danced with that. It's kind of like, as he's going along, he changes the speed of his step. And he just jigged and danced through. And you just thought, he's going to go in a minute. He's going to cock his leg back and that'll be it. It was a fantastic goal. And we got the knee slide, courtesy of the statue outside. So that's one of my standout. It still is a standout moment for me. Jay?
Just trying to find where you told me we were going to go over this. You're still not sending me stuff, are you, Tom?
Yeah, I sent it all out. Did you not get it?
It's in your email that you keep getting.
Did you not get it?
No.
Sorry, mate.
Already playing. So many
he's got an encyclopedic memory, so he'll be all right. Look at him, mate. Especially against that lot.
Yeah, so many great memories. Probably the one of the ones that sticks out for me is back at Highbury when it was throwing it down the rain. I can't remember the year, but Ian Wright was right on the far touchline. He crossed it to the back post, and Bergkamp was there, took it down with his first touch, cut back across himself and put it in the bottom corner, and he's on his knees and he's in the rain, just perfect. But so many great memories, you know, slightly more recent you know, at the old White Hart Lane when Fabregas scored and then Adebayor scored with a turn on the lovely first touch from Fabregas, ball back to goal, flicked it up, bang, straight in the top corner. Rosicky at the old White Hart Lane in the first couple of minutes.
See what I mean, Nick? He's got all this. He pretends like we've blown him out, but he's got it all there.
So
He knows
so
he's
many,
fine.
so many. But it's. I think this weekend, you know, it's. I can't think of a game from a league point of view that has been where the teams are doing so well. You know, like, and it's so much is riding on it, and like Nick said, you have to have that passion in games like this. And I mean, I worry about our players getting sent off. You know, I don't know why. I've got a feeling that they might target Saliba. Kane might be, you know, like basically trying to, because he's young and because he's potentially got a bit of a fiery side and he hasn't experienced this game before. I've got a horrible feeling that Kane's going to be up to his old tricks.
Well, they're very good at the shithousery, aren't they? Because that's what they do. They try and get under your skin and maul you about a bit, put you off your stride, because they're not skillful. That's the problem.
No, but it's such a huge game, and if we manage to win, which I fully expect us to win, absolutely. Like I said last week, then it puts us in a great position. But I mean, so many great memories. We could make a podcast just on this fixture, you know.
Yeah, you could.
But yeah, Bergkamp for me, in front of the North Bank, absolutely.
Bergkamp. Oh, Bergkamp.
Oh yeah.
Lauren, got any little memories you want to share with us? We're doing our heroes at the minute. We'll try and find a villain in a minute.
No, do you know what? I'm also going to go with the 5-2 in 2012. It was when we came back. I think that was Adebayor's first time back in a Spurs shirt, if I am correct to remember that. So that was the kind of, you know, heightened drama in that edition. He obviously got the penalty, 2-0 up, and then we came back in just expert fashion. And it was, I always just remember that one. That's the first one that sticks out to me. And when I think of this fixture, that's the one that always jumps out at me. Again, like Nick, obviously, I didn't grow up in North London. I had no idea about this fixture until I got Twitter. So maybe like a year or two before, I kind of started realizing, okay, actually, yeah, this is a local derby as opposed to being, you know, United or Chelsea, whatever it was. So I didn't really put too much importance on it before because they weren't very good. Didn't know the history behind it. But yeah, so that's the one that always sticks out at me. And, you know, if we could have another, you know, even last season, the 3-1 win, that really seemed to be the turning point of, you know, our luck, our run of form last season. So, you know, it's obviously, it's a big game, but we're more than capable. And I believe in all the players on the pitch out there.
I'll tell you what this game does bring is a different kind of atmosphere for me. I don't know whether any of you guys agree, because when you go to the stadium and you're playing anyone in particular, it's a great atmosphere. It really is. It tends to get better with different teams. But against Spurs, I mean, it makes the hairs on your neck stand up. And you have a little shiver as well. Anyone experience that, Jay?
I've never been to a North London derby. I know, but I've been to quite a few games. There was I don't know if you guys remember, it was the first game of the season a couple of years back. We played West Ham, and we lost 2-0. It was when Reece Oxford played centre midfield for West Ham, and he absolutely bossed it. And me and my son, we were sat about 2 or 3 rows from the West Ham fans, and I mean, we were obviously in the clock end, right at the back. And like I say, they were literally right there, and it was. But we've been in the ground. We've played. I mean, we've been to many games. City at home. We went to Chelsea at home, and it was a great atmosphere. Like you said, very similar. That we went to the game. That was Mikel's first home game when Tammy Abraham scored in the last minute. And we played so well. I don't know if you remember.
You have to excuse me. Something's fallen off the table. Hold on.
But we played so well that game and didn't get anything from it. That was a great atmosphere. But it's definitely a game that I'd love to go to at home. I'd love to go to the away fixture as well. I think it would be intense. You know, again, another memory, Aaron Ramsey at Wembley, you know, scoring, and this is my ground, you know, that kind of, you love that, don't you? That's just, you know, just brilliant. And like you said, Tom, it's a different atmosphere, but it must be so intense to play in, you know. It must be, you know, you're on the edge, aren't you? You know, from a, you know, red card. We've seen so many red cards down the years, some warranted, some not so. But yeah, I mean, I told you before I came on that I'm in London, and I'm fingers crossed somebody can sort me out a ticket on Saturday. I'm not holding my breath, but you know, I've got a few friends trying to get me some tickets, so fingers crossed.
Well, hopefully we'll pump this out fairly sharpish, and you might get a contact through that. Lee Dixon actually said when he arrived at Arsenal, he was getting ready for a North London Derby. Have you heard this one? And he looked round just before kickoff, and some of the guys were looking at him. I take it he means Mr. Adams. I won't do the Strictly theme or anything like that, but and he thought, what's going on? And they came up to him, cornered him, and kind of said, "You best play well today." So that's the sort of intensity within the dressing room. So Christ knows it's going to be full on. Other kind of dates that stand out, 2004, we got a 2-2 draw to win the league, White Hart Lane, which is always a plus. And Tottenham 0, Arsenal 1 on the 3rd of May 1971. Ray Kennedy scored an 87th minute header to win the first division title. Should also add about Lucas Torreira as well, because I know he didn't really do much for us, but that goal against Tottenham in the 4-2 in 2018 was something else.
Lovely. Beautiful.
Nick, you've gone. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm good.
He just phased out on us. Did you notice that? So let's have a little think about villains. Mine is for the natural reason that he used to play for us, threw his toys out of Bram, buggered off over to them. It's Emmanuel Adebayor. Couldn't stand him while he was at Arsenal. He was a cocky SOB. But when he went there, it was just like he did it for spite. He just really pissed me off, and I've never liked him since. Jay, have you got any villains?
Yeah, Adebayor is right up there. You know, like, oh God, villains. I mean, he's the first one that comes to mind.
Isn't he just? Yeah.
Ask one of the other. I'll have a think. If you just
Nick, any villains apart from Mr. Adebayor? He seems to be getting all votes at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, William Gallas did the same thing. Similar type of character.
Good point.
Quite brash, and feel like he did it for the spite as well. Hard not to pick Harry Kane, just because he seems to.
Pictures of him as a lad in an Arsenal shirt, and then he's banging on like his heart's full of Tottenham. Scumbag.
Yeah, it's. I mean, he can bumble around in these England games and not show much of anything, and then come Saturday he'll find a way to get 3 touches and 3 looks on goal. I won't say goals, but I'll say maybe looks. So yeah, I mean, he's been the pantomime villain for the last couple of years, and has earned his reputation as a goal scorer, and he really loves these games. So yeah, public enemy number 1 for me.
Lauren, got any people you love to hate, or have we covered them all?
I think you've covered them all.
I'm
really trying to think, but like, I mean, obviously I could say, people like, Robbie Keane. I was watching the Ireland game there before I came in, and Doherty was playing.
Do you know what used to piss me off about him, Lauren? Was all that, when that celebration. What was that about? Packing it.
I couldn't answer you, but it was always, you're cheering for them in the national team, and then as soon as you see them at club level, you're thinking, oh, and it doesn't really happen that often in the Premier League for Irish players, not anymore anyway. So they're the kind of last ones I can think of at big clubs. So yeah, I'm just gonna have to put them there for personal spite, if that's all right.
That's welcome. I'm a little bit worried, guys, about the Saliba situation. It's still hanging about. I don't think Mikel Arteta thinks there's much of a rush. He was hooked off in the French defeat What are we making of this situation? What are we making of him getting hooked off? I didn't think they weren't playing brilliantly, but he wasn't the worst player on the pitch. Jay?
Yeah.
Nick?
Go for it.
Go ahead, Jay.
Go for it, mate. You go.
I was gonna say I saw that too, and I'm not too worried about that. And maybe it was something already planned, just for his age and maybe the amount of minutes he's had. But yeah, he's shown that he can do it at that level, and I'm confident he'll make the trip. I don't know if he'll start for France, but I think he's in the squad, and I'd like to think Deschamps knows what he's getting, and hopefully this was more of a managing minutes. I mean, it's a bad look, and hopefully doesn't take a blow to his confidence because, like you said, it's a big weekend. Hopefully they don't target him, but I'd rather have Saliba out there than Rob Holding. So I'll say that.
I've got to be honest, if his confidence hasn't been knocked by being loaned out, for his initial spell, and then sort of his future was up in the air, then I don't think anything is going to phase that lad at all. No news on the Saka signing either. That's a little bit of a worry, but apparently they are in discussions. We're just going to finish off here with we're going to have another stab at the predictions because we were all a bit reticent. We'll put that in the beginning at the next one. We were a bit reticent about the scoreline. I'm going to go for 3-1. Nick, revised version.
I like 3-1. I'm going 3-2. Late winner. I'm going all the drama.
Oh, I would love that.
Plus a red card. I don't know which side, but I'm going for everything.
Yeah, I like it, Nick. Lauren, we know you're a bit sketchy on these. You don't really like doing them since the last one, but it's looming. We've really got to come up with the goods here. Some powerful, positive energy.
I think having watched the women over the weekend, my confidence might be a bit inflated. I think I might be going 3-0.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is radical. Mind you, it gave us a good vibe, didn't it, going into this one? Jay,
absolutely.
Have you revised your opinion?
I'm going to go. Yeah, I agree with Nick. Red cards, definitely. I think there'll be penalties. I think we will. I think there'll be loads of goals. I think we 4-2 to the Arsenal.
Well, that is a big one. Right, we will be coming back next week with the North London Derby, and we'll tell you who's got the red card. It's got to be Xhaka, isn't it? Because he's got his birthday. He'll have a red card for that birthday.
These days.
Yeah.
He's not that changed. Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks very much. It's been brilliant as always, and we got through this one without too many hiccups. See you next time. Nick, thanks especially. We'll be in touch. See if we can get you back in.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
See you later, guys.
See you guys.